Cedar Point and Dollywood are two amazing but very different parks, and are liked by a lot of people for very different reasons. Today, I'm going to be finding out which park is better, with a variety of categories in the process, such as which park has the better coasters, theming, shows, etc. Anyways, let's get into this. Hello everybody and welcome to Stormy Coasters. Jumping right in, let's start with the impressions as you're coming to the park. So first, we have Cedar Point with a big skyline full of roller coasters. It attracts a lot of people to the park, and it is just absolutely beautiful. For Dollywood, you can't really see the park until you're in it, so the first impressions are pretty much just the parking lot. So for that reason, Cedar Point will be gaining 1 point. Next thing we're going to be talking about is prices. Which park has the better prices? More specifically, which park has the prices which match what you're getting? Or lower. Currently, Dollywood's prices are about $89 per one-day ticket. And you're getting quite a lot of that in that package, including nice rides, a lot of theming, and some shows. At Cedar Point, you don't really have much theming. However, you do have a lot more roller coasters and a wider variety of other attractions, and it's only about $50. So because of this, Cedar Point gets the second point. Next up, we're going to be talking about their most modern family roller coasters. Wild Mouse will be going up against Big Bear Mountain. I've never really heard anybody rave about Wild Mouse. However, they have said some pretty good things about Big Bear. I have yet to ride Big Bear nor Wild Mouse, so I really have to use other people's opinions. And same with Lightning Rod too. Anyways, Dollywood will be getting the first point. Their first point specifically thanks to Big Bear Mountain. Anyways, let's move along, getting to the family inverted roller coasters. Dragonflyer at Dollywood is a newer Vekoma family inverted coaster with a good first drop, and in my opinion, is a little bit better than Iron Dragon, the suspended family coaster at Cedar Point, and it is also a bit more intense too. So Dollywood will be getting this point. Next up, we are going to be talking about the launch coasters. Fire Chaser Express is going up against Top Thrill Dragster. This is kind of an unfair matchup, but I hear people absolutely rave about Top Thrill Dragster. I didn't get to ride Top Thrill Dragster, sadly though, because it was down, so this is based off other people's opinions. But I don't think anything could beat Dragster, so Cedar Point gets this point. And the next one is the best RMC. Seal Vengeance is going up against Lightning Rod. I didn't get to ride Lightning Rod because it was closed. But according to Golden Ticket Awards, Seal Vengeance is the better coaster, so Cedar Point is getting another point. Next up, we got the Beyond Vertical Drop coasters. Mystery Mine at Dollywood will be going up against Maverick. Mystery Mine is pretty rough, but has a really good Beyond Vertical Drop. But Maverick, while the restraints can get a little bit tight, the drop is absolutely insane, and the rest of the ride has a lot of whippiness. So that means Cedar Point is getting this point because that is what I looked for in the ride. Next up, we're going to be battling the two aerodynamics roller coasters, Tennessee Tornado and Corkscrew. They both don't do much. Corkscrew, while it has the more intense moments, it is extremely intense. But while Tennessee Tornado is like glass smooth, there really weren't a whole lot of forces. But it's better to have a smoother ride rather than a painful ride. And for that reason, Dollywood will be getting this point. Next up, we've got our wooden coasters. Blue Streak is a coaster with some pretty good airtime at Cedar Point. Thunderhead is a whippy and great airtime machine made by Great Coasters International at Dollywood. Blue Streak, while it's fun, it does not compare to the craziness of Thunderhead. So Dollywood will be taking this point. Next up, we're going with our kiddie coasters, which are Cedar Point's Wilderness Run and Woodstock Express, and Dollywood's Whistle Punk Chaser. Cedar Point does have 2 kiddie coasters, meaning that it's kind of unfair. Anyways, I could only ride one of the kids coasters at Cedar Point, but Woodstock Express was definitely better than Whistleblowing Chaser, mainly because of the restraints. So, Cedar Point is getting this point because Woodstock Express is better, and they also have one more kids coaster. The last coaster battle category is going to be the wing coasters. Wild Eagle is going up against Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper has an interesting layout, but has sucky restraints. Anyways, both of these are extremely painful, but Wild Eagle is less painful, so therefore, in my opinion, the better ride. Dollywood will be getting this point. Next up, we're going to be talking about the extra credits you can get at Cedar Point that outnumber the number of coasters at Dollywood. They include Gemini, Magnum XL200, Millennium Force, Raptor, Rougarou, and Valraven, which adds 6 points to Cedar Point's final score. Parking lots in the amusement park can matter too, so we're going to be comparing them next. Dollywood has a thinner parking lot, but it stretches for a long time. Cedar Point has a wider parking lot, but it's slightly smaller, meaning that Cedar Point's capacity is slightly smaller than Dollywood's. So Dollywood is getting this point on this one. So technically, capacity and parking are tied in the same category. Dollywood has multiple hotels around the area, but they're a lot more expensive than the hotels around Cedar Point. And plus, Cedar Point's hotels are extremely good, and with a lot of benefits, and better benefits than Dollywood's. And they're slightly closer to the park than Dollywood. So Cedar Point will be getting this point. Next up, Dollywood has a dark ride, or sort of, which is Blazing Fury. Cedar Point has none. Dollywood will be getting this point. Now we are going to be talking about the family flat rides. Cedar Point has a few family flat rides along the midways where they could fit them in, but they just cram them in wherever, it seems like. Dollywood has less family flat rides, I think, but they look a lot nicer and appeal to more people. So Dollywood will be getting this point. And now, let's get into the more thrilling flat rides. Dollywood has the Barnstormer and their drop tower, but that is about it. Cedar Point has both of these, as well as a Sky Coaster, Slingshot, Husk Frisbee, and more. Cedar Point will be getting this point, just because of their larger collection of flat rides. Next up, we've got the kids sections. Dollywood has one mediocre kids section, but then at the back of the park, they've got one of the best kids sections in the world, with a lot of foliage and some amazing theming. It's extremely beautiful. Once you're introduced to Cedar Point's main kids section, it's nice, but then the presentation goes down majorly. Dollywood has a much nicer kids section that is still expanding, and I'm hoping that it's kept that way, which means that Dollywood will be getting this point. Next up, we've got Park Beauty. Dollywood has a lot of decorations everywhere with a lot of pretty plants, and they also have lights that change colors and decorations to match the season or nearest holiday. Cedar Point doesn't do much in beauty, but there are plants scattered throughout the park. Plus, Cedar Point has a big lake surrounding the park, which is extremely pretty. But Dollywood will be getting this point, as the beauty keeps you focused on having the best day, and it is extremely photogenic. Next up, we've got the park's cleanliness, which is a major part of the park. Then again, pretty much all of these are. Dollywood is extremely clean, and you can hardly find any trash on the floor. Cedar Point, however, is a little bit dirtier. Not too dirty, but you will occasionally see trash, especially outside of restaurants. And you don't really get that with Dollywood. So, Dollywood will be getting this point. Next up, we've got the theming of the parks. Cedar Point has minimal theming throughout the park, and Dollywood has quite a lot. So it's obvious that Dollywood is going to be winning this point. However, Cedar Point has been improving their game on theming, though. But let's start getting into the food. Cedar Point has some alright food, but it mainly strives inside of the hotels that the park has. The food inside the actual park is just alright. Dollywood, on the other hand, has pretty good food, as well as an immersive dining experience throughout the park. So Dollywood will be getting this point again. Next up, we're going to be talking about merchandise. Dollywood definitely has a larger collection of merchandise and has a wider variety of things to choose from, but Cedar Point has a slightly easier layout of things to look for, and most coasters have a gift shop by the exit, so you can look for your stuff you want in the gift shop related to your favorite coaster. And they have gift shops dedicated to specific items such as hats, nano coasters, and t-shirts. So everything you're looking for is a lot easier and much easier to find than at Dollywood. But because Dollywood has a much bigger collection, they will be snagging this point. The operating calendar is the next thing. The park, which has the longer operating season, is Dollywood, which is open between March and January, I believe. Cedar Point is open between May and October, which is a lot less than Dollywood. So, Dollywood will be getting this point. Next up, we are going to be talking about the staff of the parks. In my opinion, Cedar Point has the better staff. They are a lot more energetic and they engage with the park guests more. They're also a lot more friendly than the staff of Dollywood. At least the ride staff. Maybe not the restaurant staff, though. But Cedar Point will be getting this point. So, also Cedar Point is better with operations. So Cedar Point is getting another point. Which means that the final winner is Cedar Point. I honestly prefer Dollywood, but, Cedar Point is an amazing park, and everybody should get the opportunity to visit it at some point in their lives. Definitely. Because they have some amazing roller coasters, they have some really good staff, they also have some really good gifts and merchandise, and all of that stuff. So does Dollywood, but Cedar Point, they've got the better ride collection. So that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to Stormy Coasters and like this video. Comment below what your favorite part of the video was and which park you prefer. And have an amazing rest of your day, everybody.